Hi,
Hey
hello
guys.
everybody. Welcome to the focus activity for levels 10 to 13 on adventure. Um, so if this is your first webinar with us, which I'm sure it's not, just please introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, what school you go to, and your name. And we'll do that now as well. So I'm Jadine, and I am a teacher at Myers in Milan in Via Meravigli, and I am originally from London in England.
All right, guys. And my name is Liam, and I'm also a teacher at Myers Meraviglie. I've been in Italy for 3 years now, and I'm also from the UK, but I am from Manchester in the north of England. So you're getting a nice mix of accents and pronunciation today.
Yes, yes, it's really, we've got a lot of diverse pronunciations back in the UK,
So,
which is strange, but I like it.
me too. Absolutely. Absolutely. And
Um,
you always know where someone's from, don't you, JD? You can
yeah.
instantly, I think George Orwell said that British people were branded on the tongue. The
Oh,
moment that you meet
I like
someone,
that.
he said
Mm.
that's, you know where they're from. I've told some students who've asked, you know what class people are? That whole thing of, what level in society
I
people come
I
from.
think now it's more difficult because now it's a lot more common for people to just go into higher education.
That's
Just
true.
because just
That's
because
true. Yeah.
I think people don't know what to do, so it just seems like the natural pattern of things. But
It's
definitely for the older generations, I'd agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, right. So, guys, yes, if this is your first webinar, just a very quick explanation before Jadine introduces today's activity. We're going to be with you for about 50 minutes today. Jadine and I are going to be talking about, explaining, asking each other questions. And anytime any of you have got a question, you can just put it in the comments and we will see it. They do tend to come in a little slowly, but we will see them and we'll always try and highlight any questions or comments. So let's just bear with me. Right, so JD, what are we talking about today?
Yes. Oh, sorry. Just one other thing which I found quite useful for everyone watching, because obviously everyone is now at home and a lot of us have problems with the internet. So if one of us cuts out or freezes,
Mm,
it's really
yes,
helpful if you can type and tell us who you can still see.
very, didn't think of that, but
um,
that is a very good idea,
yeah,
yes.
I've been stuck in this position a couple of times, so yeah, it's very helpful.
Very good
Okay.
point.
Thank you.
I
So
didn't
yeah,
think of
so
that.
today's activity is on adventure. In this focus activity, we will be describing an adventure using the conditionals and
Mm.
talking about overcoming a fear. So what does it mean to overcome a fear, Liam, or to overcome something?
So to overcome something gives us this sense of
Hi, Paola.
a victory. And hello, Paola. This gives us a sense of, I would say, victory. To overcome is to, if you like, is to win against something,
Okay.
and it can be something abstract. It can be something physical. We use it often in things like sports. We use it in personal challenges, like overcome a fear, for example.
Mm,
So for example, if you're a person who is very shy, if you're very timid,
mhm.
and one day you decide that you're going to go to a party and make conversation with lots of different people, you are trying to overcome your fear of talking to people.
Yeah, okay. So kind of to get past a barrier or an obstacle or something,
Yeah, we
physical
often
or not.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think we often use these prepositions of place. We get past something, we get over something, we get through something, and all of these are used when we want to talk about. I mean, if any of
Oh,
our
I like
students,
that. Going from one place to another. I've not thought of
yeah,
that before, but I really like that.
yeah, we often use it in the physical sense. I think, for example, if any of our students want to go look at some speeches from English language politicians about the coronavirus right now, you will hear a lot of phrases like, we will get through this, we will get past this, we will get over this. And it's this sense that there's an obstacle, and you're going to get past it, over it, or through it. And through that, by doing that, you achieve your goal, you achieve victory, for example.
Okay, excellent.
Hello, Adriana from Naples. Okay. Okay, Jadine, do you agree
Yes.
with do you agree with this expression?
Okay, so the expression by Helen Keller is life is an adventure or it is nothing at all. Personally, no.
Okay.
I don't know if life is an adventure, maybe a journey.
Okay,
But
you prefer journey.
yes, just because I think adventure has the connotations, or it reminds me of words where there has to be some really big difficulties, or it has to be really dramatic or exciting. And I think not everyone's life is like that, but everyone's life is some kind of journey or story. So I prefer the word journey.
Okay. Is it for you? No, that's interesting. I mean, for you, is that journey or story, how can I put this? Is it already written or are you writing it?
I don't know. Wow, this got really
We're
really
getting deep here, guys.
philosophical.
Six minutes in, we go. Listen, guys, go hard or go home on the Maya's webinars. Okay.
Oh yeah, and also let us know if you agree or not. I think that
Absolutely.
maybe there are different options in life that can be predestined or that are already written, but it's up to me to decide which option I will take.
Okay, so yeah, we'd like to know what you guys think. Is life an adventure, or like Jadine says, is it more of a journey? Okay, we would love to know what you guys think. And the next one is a question. And
Ooh, hang on. Sorry, Paola said something quite nice. So I
let's see.
agree that life is an adventure in the sense of having curiosity for everything. That is nice.
That's very
I
nice,
like that.
Paola. Yes, I
So
agree. Especially,
you can make an adventure out of anything.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always liked this expression, which I'm just going to post. I mean, I think I kind of agree with you, JD, in that I think life is what we make it. I don't believe in, personally, I don't believe in any predestination, destiny, anything like that. I think this is all very random, but that doesn't mean that you can't enjoy yourself. And in that sense, I've always quite enjoyed this quotation from the novelist Henry James.
Okay, live all you can. It's a mistake not to. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's very inspiring. Sometimes it's very easy to kind of get stuck in a certain way, but I think we often forget that life is just your experience and it's not forever, so you should really try to do as most of it as you can. And
Absolutely.
Adriana agrees with me. Yes.
She does. And just to say to our Italian viewers and anyone else, we sometimes in English we'll use, and I apologize if I've got the spelling wrong here, but we sometimes use the Latin expression carpe diem, seize the day.
I think it's DM with an E instead of an A.
Yeah, I knew I'd done that wrong. As soon as I said that, I thought to myself, I've spelled that wrong, haven't I? Apologize.
No
yeah,
worries.
thank you, Paola.
Yeah, Paola.
I apologize. I'm showing my ignorance. Yeah, but we say that, don't we, JD? Carpe diem.
Yeah, we do.
Seize the day.
And I think there's also but again, I don't know if I'm spelling this right, but the night version.
Yeah, again, guys, we don't get the benefits of a classical education in the UK like you do. So you're going to have to correct us. We're English teachers, not
Latin.
English teachers, not Latin teachers.
But although I do wish that I knew Latin, I think it would make my life a lot easier, especially in Italy.
It would. Okay, Jadine, first question. Okay, and yeah, what would you say in response to question number 1? Do you consider yourself to be adventurous or a daredevil?
Okay, and remember, everyone, you're welcome to answer. Can you just tell me, Paola, Latins were wise. Yes,
Latins were right.
they were. They had a lot of time enjoying themselves.
It certainly did.
Can you just explain what a daredevil is?
Of course, yeah. So a daredevil is someone who enjoys doing things unexpectedly. Okay, who enjoys doing things that are daring, so things that are potentially risky or that could be dangerous, for example. So if you know someone, or maybe it's you, for example, and they love things like, extreme sports like kayaking, skydiving, surfing, for example, mountain biking, rock climbing, any of these things. This would make that person a daredevil. It means that you enjoy doing things that could be potentially even dangerous. Although, Jadine, do you wonder why the first question is put adventurous or a daredevil? I mean, to you, are those two different things, or are they quite similar?
To me, they are different, because maybe I would say that I'm adventurous. I like to do different things, and I have done things that are maybe scary or not as safe. But I think if you're a daredevil, you're someone who really likes the adrenaline, who consistently wants to do the skydiving or skiing off piste or these kind of things. So for me, I like to be safe. I will do things that aren't 100% safe if it's an experience that I think it's I'd really like to try it. I think it would be a shame to miss out.
Okay.
But I wouldn't go like seeking a really dangerous thing for the thrills. I
Yeah.
like safety.
No, I think that is a good distinction. So could we say, maybe as to separate them, someone who's adventurous, you enjoy doing new things,
Yeah,
and someone who's a daredevil enjoys doing dangerous things.
yeah, that is exactly how I would separate them.
Maybe that's
Okay,
why,
and
because yeah,
yeah,
and
and
sorry.
Paolo has almost said the exact same things. That I'm adventurous. I like to enjoy new things.
Right, okay. So yeah, daredevil, yeah, you enjoy doing, we'll just write this to be clear. So we've got the two things here. So we've got someone who's adventurous, you enjoy doing new things, but maybe if you're
Yeah,
a daredevil, you enjoy doing dangerous things.
yeah, or at least potentially dangerous. So
Yeah,
like
yeah,
risky.
yeah.
Definitely,
Not
I think
something
so.
risky or something like that, where there's a chance you could get hurt or something like that. Excellent. And one thing, guys, daredevil, noun, adventurous, adjective.
Paola, I'm not. Oh, that's a really good point, Liam. I'm not a daredevil at all.
Exactly. So exactly, Paola. Me too. I think I'm quite similar. If you are someone who doesn't enjoy things that are dangerous, you can say as an adjective, okay, because daredevil is a noun, Paola. So you would have to say, I'm not daredevil. But if you
Yeah.
wanted an adjective that's similar, if you want to say that you're not a daredevil, you can say that you are risk averse.
Ooh.
If you are risk averse, okay, because to be averse to something means that it's like you're against it, you don't like it. So someone who's risk averse means that they don't enjoy things that are risky.
Okay.
And thank you, Jadine, because yeah, that's the correction. So yeah, daredevil as a noun, we say I'm not a daredevil. Fantastic. Right, Jadine, big revealing question. The most adventurous thing you have done in your life so far? Remember,
I
we're all
don't
friends here,
know.
guys, so we can be honest.
No, I'm thinking. I'm thinking. Maybe I think this is like typically adventurous though, and maybe the most adventurous thing I've done is something like studying. I don't know, but I did go to Nepal for a
Say
few
again,
weeks.
sorry.
I went trekking in Nepal
Oh,
um for
fantastic.
a few weeks. Yeah, but it was really I was trekking for too long. and I was just
Oh,
exhausted. I thought I liked walks, but man, it was
okay.
it was too much. I was so tired. And at one
And
point we went, instead of having like a day to acclimatize and let your body
mm,
get used to the altitude, we did like a side walk and to this lake that was like the highest lake in the world. But honestly, I thought I was going to die. I was so
that
tired.
that sounds pretty intense.
It's
When did
quite
you
funny. So
when
it's
did you
quite
do
funny that
that, Jadine?
when I was 21.
And just for our students, could you give us a quick definition of trekking? Oh, I think we may have lost Jadine for a moment. Guys, as we said, if anybody can no longer see or hear Jadine, just let us know. Oh,
Hello,
hello,
am I
she's back.
back?
Yes, you
Yay!
are. Yes, you are. We lost
Yeah.
her for a second.
Hang on. Sorry, I'm using the hotspot of my housemate, so I'm just gonna say, can you come closer to the room? um, Trekking
The-
is to, yes, Paola, it's walking,
Hmm,
or walking for a long time and often in different terrain. So
hmm.
different types of ground, some hills, some more like mountains, some grass, some mud, snow, etc.
Yeah, so Jadine, for example, would you ever say, for example, I'm going trekking through Milan?
No,
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 we would.
definitely not.
It's a bit more intense, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
And we got Paola here. She said, I went with my family in the desert in Egypt by taxi.
Oh
It was
no.
a terrible
What
experience.
happened, Paola?
Yeah, Paola, tell us what happened with that because I'd be really interested.
Also, I was thinking it's funny that both Paola and I have given stories that we don't particularly like, which has made us feel adventurous. Whereas adventurous, it could also be like dyeing your hair a really bright color,
Absolutely.
or getting a tattoo. So
Yes.
it doesn't always have to be something that's horrifying, but we often associate it with something that pushes our boundaries and probably we didn't like.
And we often associate it with something associated with travel, don't we? We think of
Mm,
an adventure is to go somewhere. But I mean, for example, if I say that I'm very adventurous when it comes to food, for
yeah,
example, yeah, that for example, that just means that I enjoy eating food
lots
from
of
different
different
countries.
types.
Yeah, for example.
Yeah,
So
new foods.
yeah, and like Jadine said, dyeing your hair a different color, or maybe wearing very different clothes every day. All of these things can make a person adventurous, can't they?
Yeah, definitely. Um, and yes, so Paula has said she had to move from one city to another. It was a pair hours trip.
A
I feel like
pair.
that's a typo of maybe
Yeah,
4 hours.
I think is that meant to be four? I'm looking at a keyboard and thinking if maybe that's her phone doing
It's on the
autocorrect.
phone. Yeah, exactly. Was it
Yeah,
4 hours, Paula? Or was
it
it
was.
2 hours? Because we cannot
Or
say, if we're talking about hours, we can't say a pair of hours. Um,
that could be it.
because,
Yes.
yeah, 2 hours, a pair are two things together. But obviously you don't get 2 hours at the same time. You get one
No.
hour and then afterwards you get the other hour.
Yeah.
So we cannot
We
use pair.
can't. Yeah, we can't use pair for sequencing.
Excellent.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. I'm just thinking for me, the most adventurous thing I've done in my life so far, I think for me, I can give a positive one. I
Okay.
was when both me and my girlfriend, we both went to live in Australia.
Yeah.
That was adventurous. That was quite adventurous because neither of us had ever been there before, and we were moving to. I mean, admittedly, a country where they speak English and is culturally quite similar to the United Kingdom, but of course, it was very far away. We didn't know anybody,
Mm.
but it was a really positive experience. So I would say that
And
was.
now you've both moved here, haven't you?
Yes,
Unless
and
it's a
now
new girlfriend.
no,
I
no, no,
assume
no.
it's the same.
It's we're still together. Three years later.
There you go. So also adventurous.
Absolutely. Right, Jadine, is there an adventurous thing that you would like to do? Is there something that's on your list, maybe of things that you really want to experience?
Yes, I would like to do like a long drive somewhere, but like a
Mm,
really in a camper van type of thing. Because I
okay.
quite like to travel and I like to camp. So obviously, if I had the means, being like the money and the time, then I'd really like to do like a big trip. Um, yeah, just across, I don't know, maybe a continent or maybe a country like New Zealand or somewhere. It would
Oh,
be nice.
okay. So a road trip.
Yeah,
I'm just writing because you mentioned a good expression that most of our students, I think, probably know, but you talked about the means to do
yeah,
something, which refers to the resources and usually financial, but not always. But
yeah,
when you
it's
talk
true.
about the means to do something, it means that you have the resources
Yeah,
to do it.
you're
I
able.
Exactly. I think that sounds great. I would. I've always wanted, for example, to go on a kind of road trip through Latin America.
Yeah,
That's a that's
exactly.
a, that's a bit of something adventurous that I would like to do. Or I've also been thinking recently, I'd love to see parts of Africa.
So would
Um,
I.
Not the kind of tourist kind of hotel enclosed space kind of parts of it, but the more open spaces of it, because Africa is, of course, home to all of us. And so I'd like to go see the cradle of humanity. I'd love to go to Tanzania, for example, and see where we all come from.
Cool.
Um,
Okay.
okay, guys, by the way, just to say again, let us know your adventures that you would like to
Yes,
do.
these
Oh,
questions are for you. Ooh, yes,
Ooh,
the
very
Northern
nice.
Lights.
Beautiful.
Lovely.
Lovely. Well, Paola, if you ever come to Scotland, you can see the Northern Lights. If you go to the very north of Scotland, you can practice your English and see the Northern Lights.
Yes, but you'll have to get used to their accents because even I struggle. No, actually, it's not true. I'm quite good with the Scottish accent,
Yes.
but I know many people just do not understand it.
I sometimes tell students that if they can go to Glasgow and understand a taxi driver at 3 o'clock in the morning after a few drinks, then they've mastered English. That would be my yeah.
I wonder if there's an equivalent accent in Italy.
Yeah,
What's
true.
the what's the
Yes.
equivalent? What do
Well,
you
I
guys think is the most difficult Italian accent to understand?
well,
I'd be
Jadine,
interested to know.
anecdotally, I do know because my girlfriend explained to me that in Italy, in The Simpsons, um,
Yes,
groundskeeper Willie,
yes,
who is Scottish.
yes.
Well, in the Italian one, he's Sardinian.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
And
Really
Paola, look,
interesting.
Paola's been to Inverness and said it was so difficult to understand.
Oh,
Very
after these
good.
webinars, Paola, go back. It will all be
Go.
clear.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, okay, now maybe we can come back to the last question, but JD, if you don't mind,
That's
um,
fine.
we can just move on to a bit of language here. As you
Sure.
can see, we're talking about, as it says here, thrilling language. Okay.
Okay.
So JD, what do we mean if something is thrilling?
So it can be good, but then there's a similar word which is quite bad. So
Mm,
if something gives you a thrill
mm,
or is thrilling, it's usually an experience that was exciting and pleasurable or
mm.
enjoyable.
Okay.
Um, so maybe, I don't know, if you go on a roller coaster somewhere and it's really exciting and fun and you
Hmm.
enjoyed it, we can say the experience was thrilling or it gave me a thrill. However, the movie genre or the book
Aha.
genre, thriller, if
Mm,
anyone is familiar with Michael Jackson's song Thriller, a thriller in this, yeah, exactly, in this sense, something that's thrilling is something that's scary and mysterious, I would say.
Yes, which in Italian are often known as giallo, the yellow. You know,
Okay.
yeah, a yellow book, because they were originally, when they were cheap paperbacks produced and printed on yellow paper in Italy. So consequently,
Okay.
films and books and television programs are known as, you know, if you say a yellow film, it means a thriller.
Okay, cool.
Paola has just now. Paola, you have inadvertently invented a new adjective, adrenalinic, which.
Adrenalinic.
So, Paola,
We would say no.
unfortunately, not a word, but I like it.
I like it too. It's very clear what it means.
I mean, if you wanted to, it's not very clean, but as an adjective, you could, for example, make a compound adjective and say, for example, this, like adrenaline inducing. It's a bit of a mouthful, but that's the closest, unfortunately, we can get, because we don't really have an adjective. I mean, the adjective would be thrilling, probably.
Yeah, but if something's thrilling, it doesn't have to give you adrenaline.
No, that's very true.
Often it does. That it can just be something that you found exciting. Usually there is adrenaline, but not always.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got here, this is someone speaking about their uncle. Jadine, do you want to read this, or shall I?
No, I'm happy to.
All right, go for it.
Thrilling language. My uncle is a thrill seeker. He enjoys doing some extreme sport and is fearless. I would like to be as brave as he is someday. My worst fear is heights. If I want to be a daredevil like him, I will need to be daring and face my fear. I have thought about trying something dangerous like skydiving, but I'm afraid that it's too risky and extremely hazardous. My uncle, however, says it's the biggest adrenaline rush. My mum says not to listen to him since he is an adrenaline junkie.
Lovely.
Oh, and
Thank you,
thank you, Paola.
JD.
It's good to know.
That's really good to know. That's interesting. There you go. That's some new information for us. Oh,
Bye,
all right, Paola.
Paola.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you for being with us.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Yeah, thank you, Paola, for being for contributing so much. That was really useful. Yeah. Right. So, JD, loads of really good vocabulary in here.
Yes.
So there are 3 words in here to describe someone who loves extreme activities. And we can see them there. A thrill seeker, a daredevil, and an adrenaline junkie. Now, we already talked about daredevil, but if you're a thrill seeker, Jadine, what does that mean?
So if we said that a thrill is something that is exciting and enjoyable, if you are a thrill seeker, you are someone who is seeking or actively searching for that feeling of excitement to get pleasure from it. So again, a thrill seeker might be someone who likes to ski really quickly because skiing slowly can be a bit boring. So I want the excitement. Yes.
Yeah, because to seek, any of you who've read Harry Potter in English, for example, will know that on the Quidditch team, Harry's position is seeker, as in the person who looks for something. So to seek is, I think, a very old English word, to look for something.
Yeah.
And then we've got this word junkie. Now, junkie can have different meanings depending on it, but in its most basic sense, it means that you are an addict, okay, a junkie, because its original meaning is a little unsavory, but junk was another word for heroin, for drugs.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, junk is a synonym, is a slang term for heroin. So to be a junkie was to be addicted to heroin. However, over time, that word has evolved and developed and now we can talk about someone, you know, for example, I enjoy reading newspapers, watching the news, following journalists on Twitter, for example. So I'm a news junkie. Okay,
Okay.
for example, you know, I am in a completely harmless way. I am addicted to the news, for example. So, Jadine, an adrenaline junkie then would be someone who is almost addicted to exciting or thrilling experiences, right?
Yeah, exactly. Something that will give you adrenaline.
Mm,
For example, maybe in their regular lives and their normal lives, if they're not doing things that are really thrilling or exciting, they feel bored, they feel agitated, or like they have to do something.
absolutely. And again, upon some language here, 3 words that are synonymous for unafraid. Okay, so we've got daring, fearless, and brave. Which, I mean, they're all pretty similar. I don't know if Jadine, you would want to highlight any particular differences between them.
No, maybe just that again, if someone is daring, it sounds more like they are someone who is trying to do
Mm,
daring thing. This is just a really slight difference. If someone's daring, it's like they present themselves with the opportunity. Whereas if someone is brave or fearless, maybe just if the opportunity comes up, then that's how they would behave in the situation. Um,
mm.
but
Yep, I
yeah, they're
like.
very, very
Uh,
similar.
no, but I like it. I agree, and I like that. That's a really good distinction. I think the idea of daring is that you yourself are willing to seek out, to actively try.
Yeah,
Whereas fearless or brave is, as you said, the thing confronts you, and that's
yeah.
how you react in the moment. I think that's a really good distinction. And I think just one more here, 3 more synonyms for unsafe. We have risky, dangerous, and hazardous.
Mm.
Again, very similar. I think, though, you know, I can, in these cases, Jadine, again, I don't know if you agree, but I can imagine using these in more specific circumstances.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Uh,
Definitely hazardous. Hazardous is yeah, is I think maybe the odd word out. Yeah,
yeah, like hazardous is, it's more maybe what we would see in official signs, notices. You know, you buy bottles of, you know, kitchen cleaning products. They say, you know, hazardous chemicals,
yeah. A
for
hazard
example.
is just anything that I think could be dangerous. That it's
Mm,
dangerous on its own, and it's up to
yes,
you to avoid it. For
yes,
example, so for
yeah,
in washing up liquids and what you use to in soap or how you wash your dishes, there are chemicals in it that are dangerous. They are hazards. So if you drink it, you will die. So just don't
yes.
drink. Just avoid this
Yeah,
hazard.
yeah, we're not advocating that. Don't try that at home, just to be very clear. No,
Yeah.
yeah, I think yes. Hazardous is that by its very nature,
Yeah.
whereas dangerous could be that you have to actively engage to do it.
Yeah, like maybe there's a hole in the road and it can be dangerous for people who aren't very good at jumping over it.
No, for
But
example, yeah,
but if you're fine, then it's not a danger. But if there is a hazard on its own, this thing is a problem.
yeah.
But I don't know if I've made that more confusing.
No, I mean, I got what you mean, guys. Always, that's a very important thing as well. Please always let us know if we're not being clear. Just to say, what about? I mean, risky, the same as dangerous, or maybe less serious?
Yeah, again,
Maybe.
I think risky means that if you are not well prepared for it, it can be dangerous. So there is a
Mm.
risk, there is a chance that it's dangerous, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, I would say that its risk means, because we often say as an expression, and again I'll just put this up on the screen here. There's the there's the expression here. You know, no risk, no reward. Um, yeah, you know, dangerous means it's dangerous and that's it. Whereas, like you said, Jadine, risky means it could be dangerous, but it
Or
could
it could be
also,
very rewarding.
or it could be very rewarding. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I don't know why this has come to my mind, but you know the practice in Japan of eating the venomous blowfish is risky. You know, I don't know why that came to mind. Maybe because I was reading about Japanese food earlier. But
Okay.
you know, you eat
Quarantine
something.
read.
Yeah, exactly. Some interesting reading material that you eat it and it's delicious and it's a delicacy, but it can be lethal. It can be fatal.
See, I think for me that to me is too risky. So I would probably not eat the blowfish. I think I'd
Yeah,
just skip it and stick to the salmon.
yeah.
I don't
I mean,
think I desperately need to try this fruit. I see, I'm not a daredevil like this.
no. See, I went to Tokyo, but I did not do that. There's a limit. I think even that's a bridge too far for me, actually. Okay. Right now, conditions. Okay. And obviously that means we're talking today about conditional phrases. So guys, this will just be a review
Yeah.
of these conditionals. Again, any questions, any comments, please post them. Jadine and I will always answer them. So first conditional, Jadine, we've got the construction here. Okay, it's the present simple with will and the infinitive. But JD, what's the, how can I say this? When and why do we use the first conditional?
Okay, can you just click and I think it will give the example because for
Shh.
me I always get them mixed up
Of,
anyway.
co- of course.
Yeah, okay, so we use the first conditional if we are talking about something that is realistic, like a probable thing that can happen or that will happen, and then the result that is also probable.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. And I always tell students that if they're a bit concerned about remembering this conditional, this situation, just use one word to almost like a buzzword. So
Yeah,
with the words I associate, I tell students to remember are things like you've got here: probable, realistic, or a promise. Okay. So it's simple things like if you give me your phone number, I will call you. Okay. So it's my intention is to call you. Of course, it's possible I'll forget. It's possible my phone will have no battery, etc. Okay. So that would be a first conditional. Like this example here. If my friend wants to go skydiving, for example, I would say, if my friend wants to go skydiving, I will not join them, for example.
okay. Yes, because it's a situation that is probable or realistic, and if
Mm,
your friend does decide they want to skydive, the result is that you won't join them. It's
that's
the probable
that's
result. Okay.
that's right. Exactly. And then here, second conditional. So this one is
Okay.
used when we want to talk about something. I think the word we most often associate here with this one, and again, JD, tell me if you agree, is we say hypothetical.
Yeah. Hypothetical or unrealistic.
Yeah, perfect. Hypothetical. So again, we're going to put this up. So we say, yeah, hypothetical, unrealistic, but like imaginary. Because I think,
Yeah.
because I think sometimes people think that second conditional always means something that's impossible because it's hypothetical.
No.
But
No,
exactly,
no, but it's just not realistic.
yeah. I mean, there are some situations that I could use where it's, for example, if I was taller, I would play basketball. Now, unfortunately, I can't change how tall I am. I can't make myself taller. Okay, so that is totally hypothetical. Okay, but
Yeah.
then something like if I won the lottery, I would buy a house in New York. Okay, now
Yeah.
the chances of me winning the lottery are vanishingly small, but it could
Yes,
happen.
but not impossible. Exactly. It happens to some people.
Exactly. And I think, when we talk about it, people talk in the hypothetical sense. Say, for example, I was offered a job. I was offered a job in California. and I was trying to convince my family to go with me, for example, and I could say, if we moved there, we could go to the beach every day. You know, it's hypothetical, but there is a relationship with reality.
Yeah.
So I think we have to just be careful that we're not only thinking, oh, it's something crazy, it's something impossible, for example.
Yeah.
JD, how would you finish these two? These, or one of them even, actually, the examples.
Um.
What would you say? I'm trying to think of one for me.
So maybe if it weren't so dangerous, I would go to the Middle East.
That's
Or not the Middle East,
literally
but like
that's
Afghanistan.
that's literally what I was thinking.
Really, because I would love to go. I don't know if Afghanistan is the Middle East or Asia.
I think
I
it's more
think
regarded
it's
as Central
Asia.
Asia. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think when you've got kind of collectively they're known as the stands, you know,
Yeah,
Tajikistan.
exactly.
I
Yeah.
think it's more Central Asian.
Yeah, because I think the food is amazing. They've got such a rich history, but of course, the political climate has been quite unsafe for a while. I know lots of people go
It's
there
true.
still all the time, but yeah, I am just a bit risk averse, so I'd
Yeah.
rather go at a different time period.
But I totally agree, because the one I was thinking of is I was going to say, if it weren't so dangerous, I would go to Lebanon and Syria. Um,
Yeah.
Not only for the food, but that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Big part of it. But also, as you said, the history, the culture.
Mm,
You know, it is the cradle of, if Africa is the cradle of humanity, then the Middle East is the cradle of civilization.
sure.
It's where it all started, if you like. So yeah, guys, by the way, again, let us know, what would you do if you were fearless, or if it wasn't dangerous? Maybe there's a place you'd like to go, or I don't know, a sport you'd like to try, or a food you'd like to try. Let us
Mm.
know. Okay, last one. This is the third conditional. Now, again, some of you.
This is my favorite one, I think.
All right. Well, JD, tell us why this one's your favorite.
Probably because I'm a person filled with regret. Um, but
Absolutely.
we we use the third conditional um for the result of this conditional is realistic,
Hmm.
but the whole statement is impossible because we talk about something that could have been different in the past.
Yeah, I think that's really important, isn't it? To say that this is always in the past. There's nothing you can do to change it, for example.
Yeah. So I could say if I had moved to Spain last year,
Hmm.
I would have learned Spanish, or I could have
Yeah.
learned Spanish instead of Italian, something like this. But of
Yeah.
course, I that's realistic, but it didn't
Mm.
happen. The
Yeah.
timeline is completely separate.
Yeah. And you can kind of flip it around and say, but I didn't move to Spain, so I didn't learn Spanish.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's for example, before I moved to Italy, because this would be in the negative. If I had not moved to Italy, I would have moved to Spain. So you can use
yeah,
it. Always remember, guys, with conditionals, don't forget. You know, we sometimes we focus too much on positive examples. Don't forget negative.
yeah,
Okay. You know, it's like saying, if you first conditional, if you don't practice English, you will not improve. That's a negative example. Okay,
mm.
don't forget those. But yeah, third.
Someone. Sorry, no, you can continue. I'll add it after.
No. Tell me. I'm done.
I was gonna say someone told me if you're as well curious because I know conditionals can be quite difficult to
Mm,
understand maybe because why do we use were, why do we use would, but
yeah.
I think it's the only example in English where we have subjunctive, so that's
Mm,
why the rule doesn't that's why there's not really any
yeah.
pattern. Why am I using would for everybody? Why am I using were? As long as you can see in red on the board the structures of the sentences of the statement. So as long as you keep that structure the same, your
Hmm.
conditional will always be grammatically correct. You don't have to
Hmm.
worry about trying to conjugate verbs, etc. It's just a different rule.
Yeah, and also, guys, those of you who want to, and that's a really helpful explanation, because I think it is often confusing. But don't forget, when you're watching films, watching TV, you might find other examples of, for example, instead of using will, you might say going to. You might
Yeah,
say to him, if I see him, I'm going to talk to him.
yeah,
Okay, it's a different future form, but the meaning of that is the same. Um, Again, instead of would, we can use could as well. Sometimes we use could instead of would. We can focus more on the possibility rather than the result of something in
yeah,
conditional phrases. I think what we do is we give you the basic structure, but I think people who read and watch things in English, I think will find there's quite a bit of variety in how we use them. Would you
yeah.
say,
It's true.
Jadine?
Which is nice, you've got more option to express yourself.
Yes,
Um,
totally. Yeah.
and I think that everyone can use the first and second conditional. I hear it all
Mm,
the time very easily. It's just understanding when to use the third conditional, because we have the use of the perfect, which everyone seems to hate. So,
yeah. I just think as well, and again, I mean, students, you can
oh,
tell us, but when we explain it to them, we're like, it's if plus subject plus past perfect, then would plus have and you just think this is all starting to sound a bit like algebra.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, but
and
once it just takes practice.
yes,
That's all with this. It just takes practice, because it is just, can I remember the structure? And
yeah.
if you can, then that's it. You have the conditional.
Yeah, and guys, always as well, take your time. When you're learning something, when you're practicing it, it is always, excuse me, it is always better to speak a little slowly, but be correct, than to try and speak really fast and trip yourself up. You know,
Yes.
do not worry about that. I mean, I sometimes think to say to students, imagine in front of you there's a whiteboard or a blackboard, and just think to yourself, you're like, okay, I need this part plus this part plus this part, and you're constructing it, and then give us your example. We're
Yeah.
your teachers. We're not, we don't expect you to be perfect after your first introduction to a grammar. All right, we've just got a few minutes left. So, JD, why don't you and I just go through these questions just to round things out here in the last 2 or 3 minutes?
Okay,
Um,
perfect.
all right. So, first question: if you were an adrenaline junkie, which activity would you choose? So, this is a second conditional because it's hypothetical.
Yes. If
Hmm.
I were an adrenaline junkie, I would actually choose what this guy is doing in the picture, which is rock climbing, because
Yeah. Okay.
I like I like to do a little bit of rock climbing anyway. I'm not very good. um, but I think it's very challenging, mentally and physically.
yeah.
And yeah, I think it's nice. I've never done it. Well, I've done it once outdoors. But yeah, it's also nice to be in nature and yeah,
Yes.
get the
I
views.
think.
What about you,
Yeah.
Liam?
I think for me, I don't know how kind of risky this is, but maybe deep sea diving, scuba diving.
Ooh, no, definitely it is risky.
I think it.
Don't
I think
worry,
it
don't
can.
you
I
worry.
think no. I think it is pretty risky, and you have to be very careful, and you have to train a lot and prepare a lot for it. I would love to do that because I'm fascinated by what goes on underneath in the water. It's a whole other world down
Really?
there.
I hate
Yeah.
it. It really creeps me out.
Oh, it fascinates me. We know, we have mapped the surface of the moon better than we've mapped the floor of the ocean.
Yeah, I think it should
And
stay that way.
you've seen this horror film too many times, haven't you?
Exactly, exactly.
Right, just the last. Maybe we can just do the last one. If
Okay.
you could do any three activities. Gosh. Okay, so I would say scuba diving.
Okay.
I think I would say rock climbing too. Actually, I agree with what you said about the beauty and the nature and the
Mhm.
scenery. And then maybe surfing.
Okay, nice.
I think those would be mine.
Nice.
What about you?
So yeah, I think I do rock climbing. I do dancing. I always wished when I
Hmm.
was younger I was put into dance, because obviously maybe I could do it now, but I don't have the rhythm or flexibility. So in my third conditional hypothetical life, I would have been a dancer. Um, And maybe the last thing would be something like swimming, because
Yeah.
I'm really bad at swimming, but
Ah,
it's like a
okay.
really useful skill.
Yeah.
Yes, so there you go.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Hope you've enjoyed
Yeah,
this review of conditionals and some of our vocabulary. Yeah, keep checking Instagram and Facebook, because we're always posting when our next activities are, when our next webinars are.
yeah, and keep
And
rewatching as well. If there's one
yes,
or two that you liked and you want to practice the same vocabulary, just keep
absolutely.
rewatching or check to see if different teachers have done the same activity, because sometimes you'll get a different explanation that's
Yeah,
helpful, or
absolutely.
different vocabulary, a whole different experience. So
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. All right, guys, have a great day, and we will see you all again soon. And hopefully, we'll see you again in the school before not too long. All
I
right.
hope so. It'll be great to meet you.
Yes,
Bye.
exactly. Bye, guys.